So, Meena ji informed me that Sushil ji's sister just passed away.
Oh my gosh.
So we will start the class with the prayer for her, for the departed soul. I'm going to do 11 times Trambakam mantra. Om Trayambakam yajamahe sugandhim pushtivardhanam urvarukamiva bandhanan mrityormukshiyamamritat. 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 Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Going to start the class with a prayer. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. So we finished verse 4 of chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita, and we are on verse 5. And Krishna Bhagavan wanted everybody to become yoga rudha. So there were two stages, he said. One who is trying, and for them karma yoga is the right sadhana. And once you become yoga rudha, meaning have control over your mind, then shama means quietude of the mind is the main sadhana. And then he, in verse 4, the translation is, when a man is not attached to sense objects or to actions, having renounced all thoughts, then he is said to have attained the yoga. So basically the idea was that, hey, how do I know that I have become yoga rudha? So these are the lakshana, that when you are not attached to sense objects and to actions, and then all the sankalpa is not there, then you have attained yoga. So basically, when you're sitting in the seat of meditation, you are not engaging with your thoughts with the world. You can withdraw. So that was the whole idea, and we elaborated all that. So now we go to verse 5. And this is a very famous verse that a lot of saints and sages, discuss this verse, because this is one of the main ones here. And I'm going to chant, Uttaredatmanatmanam atmanam vasadayet atmaiva yatmano bandhuhu atmaiva ripuratmanaha. In the Sanskrit translation, Uttaret, let him lift. So lift up. Atmana, by the self. Atmanam, the self. No is not. Atmanam, again the self. Avasadayet, let him lower. Actually, it's going to be don't let him lower when the meaning comes. Atma, the self. Eva means only. He is verily. Atmanaha, of the self. Bandhuhu is a friend. Atma is again the self. Eva is only. Ripuhu, Ripu means enemy. Atmanaha, of the self. So what are they saying over here? So the main thing they are saying is, see, he said they become yoga rudha, right? And then, so how do I become yoga rudha? So basically what Krishna Bhagavan is saying over here is, you lift yourself by yourself. So it is like you do all the work. Don't depend on anybody. So it doesn't mean that, other people don't have a role, but it's like the famous saying, you can take the horse to the water, but can't make him drink it. Just remember that and you will know what he's talking about. The people can suggest, do all that, but actually you have to do everything yourself because it's a subjective thing. So that's the whole idea. And so he's just basically saying you can do it. Anybody can do this. That's what he's encouraging Arjuna. So lift yourself. So lift yourself from what? That's one question. So lift yourself from this world, this bondage, low state, so which we have reached due to our own ignorance and attachment. We have reached this. And so lift yourself from this state. So how do you do this? So he's saying you don't need anybody else's help. You have to follow this path yourself. And one of the good example that Nikhilanandji gave was, when somebody is hungry, to appease our hunger, we have to eat the food ourselves. I thought that was a great analogy, that you can't have somebody else eat and then you feel satisfied. No, you have to do it yourself. The same way, if you want to become yoga rudha, you have to do all the work. So because he said that if you are miserable, then you have to come out of. Nobody else can remove that misery, And he even joked, he said that, sometimes we say, that if you are married, then husband, wife, ka ek dusre ka paap or punya share karte hai. He said, no, you can share a parotha, but you cannot share the spiritual path, So, so how do I lift myself? By doing the karma yoga, we start, and he also mentioned one very important point. He said, if this is the life we have a chance. Because if we don't reach that state and we kick the bucket, then we don't know next life what it's going to be, right? Nobody knows. So it's a mystery. So the whole situation may be conducive or not conducive. We don't know. So that was a very good point. He's saying don't postpone this. Take it very urgently. So he's saying that rest, everything is not a priority. Doing this is a bigger priority, because he was just saying that how in our life, we put the spirituality at a very low priority. Kuch nahi hoega, then I'll go. Even for the satsang and all that, oh, I have this meeting, I have this, I have that, and then we put it at a low priority. So he's saying that what people forget is that this is going to help you in the worldly sense also. Right? Whatever we learn over here, we can be a better human being for what we are. I thought that was a very strong point. And, like in our Bal Vihar class, when people, in the beginning, when they come, because the children's parents, they are so gung-ho on that, oh, he's in this debate class, this dance class, and, they start missing. And our acharyas always say that, these parents don't realize that this is what is going to help them the most. Because even if they do one less extracurricular activity, that's not going to be so, bad. But this, if they actually learn this, then that will help them for the rest of their life and make them, better people and all that. But not everybody thinks like that. But anyway, the saints and sages kind of remind us about that. So he was saying that how we should follow the path of karma yoga and gain the proper vairagya. That's what the main thing is. And the other point that Krishna Bhagavan says in this verse is, okay, you are progressing on this path. Make sure once you progress, you don't fall down. Because a lot of times that people, they say, oh, they start going to the satsang and they get all enthusiastic and all that. And then they're working on their mind and all that. They reach a stage and then again they get sucked up into the world so much they will drop it. So he's just telling you that once you reach there, stay there. Don't fall down and keep progressing and becoming better. And Nikhilanandji gave the example of a person who is climbing a mountain. He's saying he makes sure he climbs and then he makes sure it doesn't slip down. So they have all these equipments, ropes and this and that, so keep them there and then slowly keep climbing. And then he even joked, he said that aisa nahi ho ki, after many years we remain a Buddhu only instead of a Buddha. Becoming a Buddha, you stay Buddhu. So I thought that was a good joke that he said. And so then the other thing is that what we should do is, because there's obstacles come when we are, even in the mountain climbing, the obstacles come, all kinds of problems happen, but just continuously move forward. And Gurudev, our Chinmayananji, used to say that falling is not a sin, but remaining there is a sin. So even if you fall, don't just sit there, because there are going to be things that happen and we kind of feel like, oh my God, I was progressing and I've gone down. But he's saying that don't stay there permanently, but you have to get up. Just like a baby is walking and trying and falling and getting up again, so keep getting up. So that's okay. And this morning, I was listening to one of the discourses on this chapter 6. And, she's this lady who is Acharya, she's a Swamini actually of Chinmaya Mission in India. And she said, once you start meditating, guaranteed failure is going to happen in this. Guaranteed failure. Meaning, in the beginning, when you sit, your mind is going to run. So don't think that, you suddenly will sit and all of a sudden everything will start happening correctly. That is going to happen. It happens to everybody. Even saints and sages will tell you the same thing. So that's why this is just encouraging you. But when she said guaranteed failure, meaning that in the beginning you are going to, but eventually if you keep at it, you will progress. That's what basically he was saying. That was a good point. So we should not get discouraged. And then also Nikhilanandji said that, if you are on this path, then look back 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, and then see that have you made progress or not? Because has your thinking changed or not? That is a very good way of thinking about it, introspection and all that. And then if you feel like you're not growing, then put forth more effort. So just kind of self-evaluate yourself. And then the other thing that the other second line of this verse is telling you that in this path of spirituality, you yourself are the friend of yourself. So, and there are different ways to approach this friend and enemy thing. Your mind is basically can be your friend or enemy. And I think it was Sushilji who had brought that analogy that is like a door knob. Door is like a thing you can go in or out, both with the same, right? So the mind is the same way. It can lift you or it can take you down. So, and he also said that, you of course need support of God and Guru and all that, but you need your own support. That was a very, very important thing, the point that he brought. So he's saying that if I am not interested in it, even Bhagwan cannot help. So I have to become that jigyasu. I have to want it so badly. And you know that even for the, even in this class and all that, if you keep pushing somebody, hey, come, they might come once or twice and then they'll just drop off. They're not going to continue. Or even your own sadhana, whatever you're doing, if you're not yourself interested, nothing can happen. So that's why it is like your own effort is the most important one out of all. And I think in English they have that saying, God only helps those who help themselves. So that is a complete translation of this verse only. And so basically my mind and intellect, can become my friend and don't make it your enemy. And actually, when we read Swamiji's commentary, he gave a very elaborate way that how the mind and intellect should become an whole analysis. And you will see it will be very interesting when we read that. So basically, Nikhilananji was saying that if I make my friendship with my own mind and intellect, it will take me to my ultimate goal, And sometimes, in the name of spirituality, he was saying that we make our own mind only our own enemy. So we have to watch out, like keep giving some bahanas or something like that. Because we have our two levels of mind. One is like a lower level of mind where the emotions and all are there, likes and dislikes are there. And then there is a higher mind, which is more rational mind, the intellect. So basically, when we read Gurudev's commentary, he's going to tell us that how we should make use of the rational mind and, take control of the lower mind. And the lower mind has to be willing to submit and all that. So we will see in the commentary. And then he was just saying that if Nikhilananji was saying that if the mind becomes your friend, it will actually help you at every stage. But if the mind is the enemy, so he's saying how enemy, what enemy does it? बेकार में जाके किसी को सताएंगे, right? No, कोई rhyme and reason नहीं होएगा. And then how in India some teenagers who would be very naughty, they will say, चलो पड़ोसी को जाके सताते, without any reason, So he's saying, don't let your mind become like that. Like he was some saints and sages, बैठे हैं हम लोग, सब कुछ सुख शांति, and the mind will start some drama. Start thinking of the past or worry about the future and just ruin everything, So that kind of thing he was talking about. So basically, if the mind is not purified and controlled, then it becomes your worst enemy. So whatever they're talking about, purify your mind, and also that is a context over here, And he's saying that if it is enemy, then when you sit down to meditate, it will definitely disturb you for no rhyme and reason if its mind is your enemy. So these are the main points before we read Swamiji's commentary. Anybody has any question, comment? Yeah.
Just one question. When we say, it said, let a man lift himself by his own self. This is uppercase S, right? So lift self, that means it's Guru's grace, or it is the higher intellect when we are saying let by his own self. Is that what it means?
So how I look at this verse is there are several different meanings you can draw. And one of the meaning is that because that Atma is within ourself, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So when you say lift yourself by yourself, meaning connect to that Atma, that becomes the capital self.
That's
In the
what
highest sense, true. So what you're thinking is not wrong, but what Nikhilanandji and all they try to take a little practical approach, because that is a very hi-fi, right? Connecting with the Atma. Right now we don't even know fully, and it's not that easy. So there might just become few words here and there. So, but even that is very good to think that, hey, Atma is within me only, so my lower self has to lift itself to
Yes.
that Atma. Okay?
Yeah, once I know that my
Yeah.
higher self is within me, it's like a grace given to that lower Atma.
Yes. Yeah.
And then it works.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I connected. I wanted to make sure it was right.
Yeah, so that's correct also. And the other approach is that, hey, my if I'm at the mind level still, then you can take it as a mind also. Hey, mind becomes my enemy or friend, and then I have to. So true.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comment, question before we read? Any volunteer to read Swamiji's commentary? Okay, great. Neeluji.
So, Umaji, before I start reading, I want to share with all of you that in November of 2018, I started this class. This was the chapter you guys were reading then. I didn't have a book. So, but this was the chapter you guys were reading at that time.
See how organized she is. So what had happened, people who joined later, we were doing the Upanishad, right? Mandukya Upanishad. And my God, it was so difficult because the commentary itself is difficult. So I would start bringing Geeta, because Geeta, I always say Bhagavan Krishna is very kind and very understandable the way. So I'd start bringing random things, And then our class, it's a slow evolve. It evolves slowly with everybody's contribution and suggestions and all that. And then I think one of you said, I don't remember who, let's do the Geeta class. Everybody was interested, So I said, wow, that is my favorite subject anyway, because that's what I do with the Balvihar children. So I'm thinking about it a lot. And that's how we started the Bhagavad Gita class. So very, very interesting.
I took you guys at Sri Mandir.
Yes. Neeluji connected with us. Yeah. Yes.
So, as a complete Shastra, the Gita has to be faithful to truth and truth alone.
Wait, where are you?
On page 13.
No, which verse are you doing?
5.
So are you reading the Swamiji's translation first?
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Let a man lift. Yeah, sorry.
Sure.
That's what you start with.
Let a man lift himself by his own self alone, and let him not lower himself, for this self alone is the friend of oneself, and this self alone is the enemy of oneself. As a complete Shastra, the Gita has to be faithful to truth and truth alone. Irrespective of what the tradition of the country at a given period might have made, the faithful ones believe. It is not very unhealthy to believe that the grace from an external source is constantly helping a true seeker striving on this path. But this is really healthy only when this thought is correspondingly complemented with sufficiently intense individual self-effort. To believe that Guru's grace will land on us by post in packets is against the Shastras, and bigger the assertion with which such packets are presented, the more should we suspect the genuineness of the sender saints.
So, you see what he's saying, that, the Shastras speak the truth. And, it's whatever the tradition of the countries. And I don't need to tell you how many sadhu, sant, ye bhabhuti laga do, sab theek ho jayega, ye hai, wo hai. He's just warning you against that. And he also said that, without the corresponding complemented with sufficient intense individual effort. So that might have some role, because when we sometimes, when we go to saints and sages, they inspire us, right? So that factor is definitely there, the inspiration. But he's saying that खाली उससे ही नहीं कुछ होने वाला है, भभूति लगा देने से और कोई पैकेट मिल जाए, or some kind of whatever it may be, I don't know. And even with Bhagavad Gita also, if you superficially just read it, that's not going to do anything, right? So that sufficient effort has to be there. So everybody understands that. Yeah.
But Umaji, also without Guru you cannot achieve it.
Well, yeah, that's true, but he's going to talk about it. Guru can, it's like, there is the best analogy of the Guru is he lights the path for you, but you have to walk on it.
But you do need a Guru on the path.
Because the Shastras, whatever their language and all is so difficult. I mean, we see, if we didn't have Swamiji's commentary, we didn't have all these other saints and sages' explanation, we would just very superficially read this. Okay, lift yourself, then go home. That's not going to do anything, right? So they kind of, that's true that even the Upanishads, basically idea is even the meaning of that word Upanishad is go sit near. That's the meaning, that go sit near, in a kind of a humility ke saath you approach a teacher, and then you can learn the Upanishad. Because if you pick it up yourself, it'll be too dry and we won't understand. So you are right, but all he's saying is only Guru cannot do it for you if you don't put self-effort. That's all he's saying.
Had there been a packet method, we should have a packet yoga, explained in our scriptures. For our rishis were exhaustive in their treatment of the science of self-perfection. If at all some great saints of today are sending prasadam, it is not to be considered and misconstrued that those packets are atmika powder, which one can be rubbed in thought and skin between the eyebrows. With the right mental attitude, if we approach them and make use of them, certainly we can gain a certain amount of mental equipoise and self-confidence, which can be intelligently applied in our own self-effort.
Kamlaji has to mute. So, see how it's telling you the role of it? That it can give you self-confidence and mental equipoise, Okay, I'll mute Kamlaji here. All right. So, it might have, it can give you encouragement and all that, especially if you respect somebody and, they send you something, it will definitely help. But that solely is not going to take you there. That's all it's telling you. If you don't put your self-effort, even God cannot help you. That's what he's saying.
Man should uplift himself by himself in the open statement declared by no less a person than Lord Krishna himself. Not cooed in a playful mood in the company of the gopis of the Yamuna bank at a hilarious hour of laughter and play, but reared to Arjuna on the battlefield at a serious moment of his life's fulfillment as an avtara. Man, if he wants to exalt himself into his greater cultural and spiritual possibilities, now lying dormant in him, he has to raise the lower in himself to the greater perfection that is the true and eternal central core in himself.
Okay, so here the last line is what Meenaji was talking about, right? That a central core, true and eternal. So we know that he already declared it in chapter 2 that you are that eternal. So it is there in us. So we have to raise that lower. So even that part is covered by Swamiji's commentary over here. And the other thing, very important thing he said was that when Krishna Bhagavan said man should lift himself by himself, he was not talking to while dancing with the gopis, but this is very serious stuff. And and the other point that he mentioned was he roared to Arjuna on the battlefield, the serious moment of his life's fulfillment as an avatar. So this is the most important thing he did as an avatar, was gave us this Bhagavad Gita. Because this is the, self-knowledge. So very important point he brought out here. Yeah.
Everyone has in himself a picture of the ideal. This intellectual conception of ourselves is always very vivid in each one of us. But unfortunately, this ideal remains only in the realm of thought and is not lived in the world of activity. Intellectually, we may have a clear and vivid picture of what we should be, but mentally and physically, we behave as though we were the opposites of our own ideal concepts. The divorce between the idealistic me and the actual me is a measure of man's fall from his perfection.
So he's saying that how there are, it's so beautiful, right? That we have these two different parts in us. One is, ideal me, I want to be like this, but in my action, I'm not. So it's like that, to recognize that is the most important thing. And sometimes he's going to talk about it in the next paragraphs, and let's read that and then we can discuss that. Go ahead, read the next paragraph.
Most of us generally unconscious of this duality in ourselves. We mistake ourselves to be the ideal and are generally blind to our own actual imperfections. Thus, we find a notoriously selfish man in society warmly and sincerely criticizing the slightest trace of selfishness in his neighbor. In a world of no mirrors, it is possible that a squint-eyed man may come to laugh at another squint-eyed person because the one who laughs knows not the angle of which his own eyeballs are facing each other.
तो मतलब जो खुद में कमियां है ना, वो अपने में नहीं दिखाई देगी, पूरी दुनिया में दिखाई देती है. And I think in the modern psychology also says, right? I think somebody brought that up over here in this class or maybe somewhere else, that when we tell other people, oh, you are like this, you are like that, actually that same negative trait is in us. इसीलिए दूसरों में दिखाई देता है, right? They even say that. So I think this is a very important thing. And I want to just narrate one incident. And I'm not criticizing anybody and all that. This is just a class, so I'm just bringing that up. So one time, I was visiting one of these families, and the mother was just, at that time our kids were like teenagers. She said, "मेरी बेटी ना झूठ बहुत बोलने लगी आजकल." So I was just listening. I said, yeah, sometimes teenagers and all that do. They said, वो ना उसकी सहेली बहुत खराब है, उससे सीखती है वो, right? So मैं बोला हाँ, फिर I'm just having, people should have good friends, and obviously everybody wants their parents want their children to have good friends. And then she said, अच्छा हम लोग इंडिया जा रहे हैं अभी इस दिसंबर में, and स्कूल से ना खाली फिक्स छुट्टी मिलती है, right? When you are in certain grade and all, they don't want you to miss because it will affect them. So he's saying that, but we have to go longer. इतना दूर जा रहे हैं पैसा खर्चा करके. So we have to tell them something. So we just said grandma sick or something. Huh? So I'm like, मैंने कुछ बोला नहीं उसको. मतलब, oh my God, the झूठ बोलना. The daughter is learning from the own mother, but she had like no clue. And so we all do that we think that, we are the perfect and everybody else has a problem, but Bhagwan is telling you, no. Swamiji is saying that that's not it is. And the whole sadhana is that recognizing the shortcoming in myself and then working on it, That was the thing.
Within ourselves, if we carefully watch, we can discover that intellectually we have a clear concept of a morally strong, ethically perfect, physically loving, and socially disciplined ideal picture of the man that we should be. But in the mental zones of our emotions and feelings, however, we are tantalized by our own attachments, likes and dislikes, loves and hatreds, appetites and passions. Hence we behave like a curd-fed, by the wayside gutters and ever quarreling with others of the same ilk over dry and marrowless bones.
So he's so strong and he really like slaps you in the face, like, wake up. So yeah, you saw that how he's talking about two different, intellectually we have a clear concept. He's saying of a morally strong, ethically perfect, physically loving, and socially disciplined ideal picture. But what happened at the mental zone? We have all these negative emotion and feelings and attachments to the world and the work and people and strong likes and dislikes, love and hatred, all that. So, and then even though we have this idealist picture, that's why we behave like that, because we have all this negativity. See, the other way the Vedanta will say that those are our vikaras of our mind, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Mad, Matsarya. Those 6 sharks, they call it, for the children, that they live in our mind that we have to get rid of. Because of that, our actions are wrong. Yeah.
As long as the individual does not realize the existence of this dual personality in himself, there cannot be any religion for him. If an individual has discovered that there is enough in him to be divided into 2 portions, and then he wants to keep the lower as brilliant and chaste as the higher, the technique that he will have to employ to fulfill this aspiration is called religion.
See how beautifully he said that what religion actually is, because sometimes, we completely misunderstand, that what are we trying to do? And, in India, so there are so many kind of crazy things happen in the name of religion everywhere, I think, not just. So he's just telling you what actual religion is, that we're recognizing this dual personality and then lifting ourselves. So now you know what his very beautiful interpretation of this Uddharet Atmana, that, how to lift yourself is once you recognize it and then put forth effort.
Mind is the saboteur that enchants us away from our own known perfection, to be a slave to the flesh and the external objects of brittle satisfaction. Mind is the conditioning that distorts the ideal and creates the lower satanic sensuous self in us, which is to be brought into unison with the intellect, which is the equipment for the higher self to manifest. In short, when the rational and discriminative capacities of a limited intellect are brought to bear their authority upon the wavering and wandering sense-mongering mind, the lower is brought under discipline and made to attune itself with the noble and the divine in us. The process by which the lower is brought under the direct management and discipline of the higher are altogether called the spiritual techniques.
So here he's telling you that what it is meant for. All the spiritual practices are meant for nothing but so he has again the 2 different levels of mind, and whoever remembers what we did in chapter 3, that how the intellect is higher. First he talked about body, then senses, and then he said mind, intellect, and Atma. And he said that how the senses are more powerful than the body. The mind is more powerful than the senses. Intellect is more powerful than the mind. And then the final is the Atma. So if you want to control the lower, you got to sit on the higher seat. See what I'm saying? So when our mind starts going too much into likes and dislike, love and hatred, appetite and passion and all what he was talking about, then we have to, this is our lower mind doing all the gadbad. Then we got to sit on the seat of intellect, rational, and also the knowledge that we are gaining from Bhagavad Gita. Okay, sit in that seat and then control it. And that's why that analogy of the horses are there. I mean, the chariot, the Krishna Bhagwan is holding the reins, the mind, because he's the higher self in us. So all that comes together here, right? Now you see it.
Very poetic way of explaining though.
Yes, and I mean that's what. So if we see this and then we connect it to what we have learned, then it has a deeper and a more effect in our mind.
This process of self-rehabilitation and self-redemption of the Satan in us cannot be executed by inviting tenders and giving the contract of the lowest bidder. Each will have to do it all by himself unto himself. Alone to the alone, all alone is the way. No guru can take the responsibility. No scripture can promise the redemption. No altar can, with its divine blessings, make the lower the higher. The lower must necessarily be trained slowly and steadily to accept and come under the influence of the discipline of the higher. In this process, the teacher, the scripture, and the houses of God all have their proper appointment, duties, and limited influences. But the actual happening depends upon how far we ourselves learn to haul ourselves from the gutters of misunderstanding in us.
So see, he explained it completely.
Beautifully said.
Yeah, very detailed. He explained that and Anilji, here is the answer that the guru, the scripture, all of that, they have a limited influence, so they can, and that's why Anilji, when suppose there is a guru और उसके समझो 10-15 चेले हैं, ऐसे हाइपोथेटिकल एग्जांपल ले रहे हैं, सभी नहीं वो सेल्फ रियलाइज हो जाएंगे, एक दो होंगे, बट वो ज्ञान तो सभी को वही दे रहा है, लेकिन हर एक का सेल्फ एफर्ट, where they are and all those things count, right? How much jigyasu they are, how much effort they are putting. So that's what it is. Yes, because this knowledge is very difficult to even intellectually understand without a guru, but once you get intellectually understand, then उसके बाद के सारे efforts फिर वो personal हो जाएंगे, करने के लिए.
So far, Bhagwana has indicated an exhaustive treatment which may be in many of its aspects considered as equivalent to the modern psychological process called introspection. Realizing our own weaknesses, rejecting the false, asserting the better, and trying to live generally as best as we can, the higher way of life is the process of introspection. But this is only a half of the entire process and not the whole of it.
So here he's telling you another in modern language that what we should be doing, and the word is introspection. And a lot of people say they do that, before they sleep, how was my day? Did I hurt anybody? How could I have done it better? All that we know that modern psychology, they tell you. So it's basically saying, realize your own weakness, rejecting the false, asserting the better. And then, sometimes when we do that, suppose if I get angry very often and all that, but then now I learned that, hey, anger is actually my own desire of some kind, and then I introspect on it and I say, okay, next time. So when the time comes, I have a better success of kind of not getting angry. And suppose again I fail, then again I introspect. One day will come, थोड़ा heat देते जाएंगे, so कुछ तो फर्क पड़ेगा उससे, So that's what I think. This is a very, very important thing that we everybody needs to do. Yeah.
The other half also is insisted upon here by Krishna. It is not only sufficient that we look within, come to note our weaknesses, erase them out, and substitute the opposite good qualities and develop in ourselves the better, but whatever little consequence we might have made out of Satan's province, we must see to it that those areas are not again handed back to Satan's dominion. Krishna warns, almost in the same breath, do not allow the self thereafter to fall down and be dragged again to the old level of the cheaper way of existence.
So we discussed that you raise yourself to a certain level and then suddenly you drop, again. फिर क्या फायदा? It's like you take 2 steps forward and 5 steps backwards. Or, like in the sansar ke chakkar mein, there are other places that it comes that, the manushya yoni is supposed to be kind of good and bad का balance जैसा कुछ है यहाँ पे. हाँ, हमने बुरे भी काम किए, अच्छे भी काम किए, तो हमको मनुष्य जन्म मिल गया. So now we are at like जैसे कहते हैं ना, एक सीढ़ी होती है, तो we go all the way, बीच में एक लैंडिंग आती है. So हम लैंडिंग पे खड़े हैं वहाँ पे. So मनुष्य जन्म में हम लोग नीचे भी जा सकते हैं और ऊपर भी जा सकते हैं. So if we do, भगवान ने दिया है, so we can do so many bad karmas that we got योनि हमारी मनुष्य मिली थी, अभी जानवर की योनि मिल जाएगी. But we can also go up. So that's what he's talking about, that don't drag yourself down. He's just warning, because there are so many Puranic stories also. बड़े बड़े ऋषि मुनि कहाँ पहुँच गए, फिर वो एक अप्सरा आई तो गिर गए फिर नीचे. So those Puranics are to remind us कि भाई, the world का temptation is very, very strong. So just be on the guard. That's what he's telling you.
The second line of the stanza contains a glorious idea shaped into a beauty of expression which almost immortalizes the great author Vyasa. We are to be considered both as our own friend and our own enemy. Any intelligent man observing and analyzing life will vouchsafe for the truth of the statement. But here, more is meant philosophically than what meets the ear. Generally, we do not fully understand the import when we say the self is the friend of the self.
So Swamiji is going to explain in his own words that what it means, that, and I think that Sadhguru really talks about this a lot, that how God has given us intelligence and we make our intelligence work against us only. हाँ, उसको दिया है एक equipment, हमको दिया है कि भाई तुम सुखी रहो and all that. But हम उससे इतना दुखी कर लेते अपने, because overusing it, misusing it, and that's why his path is called inner engineering, because he's saying tune your mind to make it so that it creates happiness around you, But and the way in the modern world is there's so much information bombardment, over analyzing everything, like this. Some Russian person had said a long time ago, they said when they first came from Russia, they went to the grocery store, they wanted to buy a shampoo, and he said he stood over there and his mouth just dropped open, that the whole aisle was shampoo. Like even one company had 10 different kinds, and there were like 100 companies. And he said, when I went in my shop over there in my country, there were 2 choices. You take A or you take B, or maybe sometimes यहाँ पर you don't even know. So एक चीज लेने के लिए कितना लोग analyze करेंगे. So they take your mind and work it against you. Okay, I think it's Kamlaji's got muted again. There we go. Okay. So so he's basically just saying that how you can make your own equipment your own enemy.
Yeah. The lower in us can raise itself to the attunement of the higher, but the higher can influence only when the lower is available for its influence. To the extent the lesser in us surrenders itself to the influence of the higher, to that extent it can serve the lower as a great friend. But if the lower refuses to come under the influence of the diviner in us, the divine presence in us is accused of as an enemy of ourselves. This is so because the dynamism of life provides us its energy, both of our life of higher aspirations and for our life of low temptations.
Okay, so this is a very important thing. So what he's saying over here, that life principle, that consciousness give power to us to do things, right? Either we can take that power and do something to raise ourselves, or we can go and destroy ourselves. Power is coming from that higher self only. That's why he's analyzing. It's such a beautiful way to analyze that, why it becomes your enemy, because it actually gives you, if you want to do bad stuff, it will allow you to do it. See what I'm saying? Because you are doing it with your own indriyas and all. Either you going to a Geeta class, or you're somebody, just an analogy. When I'm talking about us, but a person, either he can go to a satsang or he can go murder somebody. But the dynamism is coming from that consciousness only, And the other way you can look at it, electricity. Electricity is neutral. You can take it and, use it for cooking and, giving light, but you can electrocute somebody too. Same the nuclear energy. You can do a nuclear bomb and kill people,
and for heating, both at the same time.
Yes. So that's why he's saying that the choice is yours. When you have God has given you all this energy, whether you're taking that energy to lift yourself or lower yourself.
Ultimately, it is for the aspirant himself to accept the responsibility for blessings or damning himself. The potentiality for improvement, the chances for self-growth, the strength to haul ourselves out from our own misconceptions in us are all ever open for employment. But it is all depends upon how we make use of them.
Same thing. So he's just elaborating what we just discussed. Yeah. And I have this one, you have it too? One extra paragraph in italic. Do you have it? No? Okay. So it says, it has been said that
that is next page, yes.
Yeah, you can read that.
Okay. It has been said that he alone is the friend of himself. He alone is the enemy of himself. Now it may be asked, what sort of man is a friend of himself, and what sort of man is the enemy of himself? The answer follows. So
when Krishna Bhagwan wants to stress something, he always gives one extra shloka which has a continuation of the same thought, asserting it. So that we'll do it next time. But this is a very, very important one for self-effort and asking us to recognize the weaknesses in ourselves and raising ourselves. No matter who we are, and we should not have, sometimes people who go on the spiritual path, kabhi thoda ego aa jata hai. Oh, I'm doing this and other people are not. And, it's like, hey, if we are born as human being, all of us are like that. So let's not, because agar hum log bahut achhe hote to swarg mein baithe hote. The fact that we are born, to humne bhi bahut si galtiyan ki hai, bahut sa galat kaam kiya hai, and we are in the middle round. We are at that landing. So everybody is in the same boat, but we have to recognize it and move forward. That's all he's saying. We've been given a chance. Yeah, go ahead.
Also, what I got out of this is the energy is available to you.
Yes.
You can use it either to fall down or raise yourself up.
Yeah. I think that's why the saints and sages say that every birth is a chance given to you. Yeah. Very important point. Yeah.
So I have two comments.
Sure.
Okay, so first one is this is one of the most important explanation I heard.
Mm.
And in Bhagavatam, at one place, Krishna is praying, and they ask him, "Who are you praying for?" And he said, "I'm praying for self." So that is where the importance of self is.
Mm.
Now, the reason I think the explanation is there, but it's very hard to understand. And that's why all these questions are there. So I can give you some example that there are different stages which one can go through, and everybody has different path. But I can tell you one path. Like the first stage is you are asleep, like Guru Nanak said, which is where you are living your life perfectly, but you are not even curious as to what is outside of that. So the next stage becomes this jigyasu. You become interested. Third stage becomes that you go and search everywhere, and then you come back home and then you say, there's so much to learn. So I cannot complete everything, but let me open myself up, so let it come to me rather than me going out, And this all in the songs available. Like, Mujhko kahan dhoond rahe bande, main to tere paas. Then you find a guru, and guru will help you communicate with God. That is his role. That's the role of the guru. But still, while you are communicating with God, you still think God is an external entity and not doing to yourself. And that is when the sixth stage comes, when you get a message that now you're self-sufficient and you can communicate with yourself. So to go same self from when you are asleep, to go to this stage, you can go through those stages and then reach there. And I went through this timeline, and it looked at 18 years it took to go through every stages, and I have put that in my book. And but that is the summary of that is in this show.
Interesting, very interesting. Yeah.
Umaji, I personally feel with my own experience that, what Joe was saying, that as the soul is evolving, you come to, certain stages. Then, but at the same time, your company, meeting a guru, all these forces are working together for you to rise. And then you begin to realize that, no, I need to do my own effort. And at that point, it is guru that who really inspires you. And when he shows you the way, there is little grace also, together. So you need all these forces together and with your desire, because then you know that this spirituality works. The other thing will not work, that there are two simultaneous things working at the same time. Your identification with your body, and there's something more possible. There are more possibilities, like Sadhguru explains. And then I feel at that time, it is the guru who really inspires you. So when the guru inspires you and that grace comes in also, then you get that, that extra energy to just take a leap forward. And I think then it starts working.
So, yeah, everybody has that point.
Everybody
True.
has their own way. And I feel that this is working for me.
So, as far as guru is concerned, I think the Vivek Chudamani, right in the beginning, it says very beautifully that when you are ready, Bhagwan will send the guru. And it says it's like a flower, when it opens, a bee just comes. So, Kamla ji ka bar unmute ho raha hai. Kamla ji, you have to keep it mute. I'm sorry. So all of you are saying have a validity in their points, and where we fit in, it all depends, because it's like some people का guru almost determined होता है previous life से, right? जिन्होंने already अपनी journey शुरू कर दी है पता नहीं कब पिछले जन्मों से, उनका तो guru fixed ही हो गया, and वो guru is waiting for the chela, like it happened with Vivekanand ji. Ramakrishna Paramahansa ji were waiting for him. Hey, where were you? I'm waiting for you. And the other people are like, when they get ready, Bhagwan sends somebody. So there are mix and matches over there. But the bottom line over here to me is, if you put in your effort, Bhagwan is going to help you. Whichever way it is necessary, he will help you. And he will keep removing all the obstacles so that you continue on the path. Right? So it could take different colors of it, different incidents and all that. And I'm sure in this group, everybody has a story to tell about how they got into, and how,
I agree. Everybody has unique path.
Yeah.
But the stages are there, and they may be previous life, this life doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But then let me tell you the negative side of this. Once you get that highest level, you can fall down, like you were saying.
He said it.
And in fact, a warning comes that you are not doing anything. And I don't know how you go about doing that, but that is also part of this.
I mean, that's why Krishna Bhagwan put it, don't lower yourself, once you reach a stage. So he what you're saying is so true.
Because 2014 I reached that stage. Then 2016 the warning came that you went there and now you are back. So now, all I'm doing is my assignment.
Maybe it'll lift you back up where you were.
No, they gave me extra 7 years after the assignment. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But it's not in your hand. That's the problem.
I mean, on one hand, we can say that, but on the other hand, you have to keep that thought in that my self-effort continue with it.
You have to lose yourself to get there.
Yeah. So you can look at it whichever you want, and that's why what Swamiji over here, Chinmayanandji gave a very good technique of introspection.
Yeah.
That everybody can do. Right? So these are simple techniques. So once we genuinely do it, then the danger is there because you already said that sabko apni galtiyan nahi dikhai deti hain. But if you keep an open mind and keep in that humility,
you can see yourself doing those mistakes.
Yes, right.
And so you become the observer of yourself.
Right. So the techniques are given. Now it's up to us.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the effort is there to dissolve yourself. You need that effort to dissolve yourself, and then you just,
But then you have to keep yourself dissolved.
Not doing the effort. It's like intimacy spider.
Yeah.
How will you eat the rasgulla?
Rasgulla has got nothing to do with it. You can eat your rasgulla and still go. But you sit there and you keep obsessing over rasgulla. That's the problem. Like our Acharya used to say, from Houston, if you have a desire and you go fulfill it, there's nothing wrong with it. But it becomes an obsessive thing. Without this, I cannot live, or you can't sleep at night and all. That's when the problem comes.
Yeah.
But chota mota, it's not a problem.
No, but it's a wonderful shlok and a very good explanation.
Yeah, I think Swamiji is definitely has a very great explanations. Yeah.
This getting over desire. Once Bhagwan had mentioned, one lady had said that she likes rasgullas very much, and so he said, "Acha, to tumko acha lagta hai, to sabko bula ke khilao."
Yeah, very good idea.
You begin to magnify that thing.
Yes.
That happiness, how, something that makes you happy when you're sharing it with somebody, your happiness is going to multiply several times. And then seeing that, you get over that desire.
Very nice technique.
It's a very nice yukti.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, actually, you feel a lot of pleasure in sharing with others.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So much joy comes in sharing that then you forget about yourself. You're so happy seeing other people feeling happy that you just forget. Yeah. And that desire just, sort of dissolves.
Yep. Anybody else has any comment?
I just want to say one thing about when we talk about introspection. It's very hard to do though.
No, it's not hard. I've been trying, and it's like really like intimacy spider. You climb up the wall, and then down comes the rain, and you just washes the spider out. Up comes the sun, and again you climb up. So it's the whole thing is of coming up. Then you make a mistake, you fall down, then you go up again because you realize that this path will work.
So Nareshji, if it was that easy, we won't be having the class, right? So that's true that it is to begin. It's very starting.
I was about to say that. I think because in the class itself you start to get ideas like
yes.
Because when I know that something I did during the day was wrong, and trying to relive it in the evening gets even harder even.
Basically, it is like, in the beginning, it's like your lower mind is going to play tricks on us, and keep saying and keep justifying, No, you are right. But as we study Bhagavad Gita and as we read Swamiji's commentary and all that, it will loosen our mind a little bit, Yeah, so that's why that satsang, they tell you that keep the heat on. Because in the beginning, it may not, but if you continue, and then your own conscience will prick you that, hey, no, you've done it wrong, and that's when you will start introspecting and all that. Shireen has come. Shireen is
Nothing,
gonna, yeah.
About rasagullas, when you feed others, and if you think you are all one, you're only feeding yourself.
Yeah, that's a very high state, but true. If we can do that, that's amazing. If we can do that.
That's what I do. When I feel like I do that actually, because it's very hard on my stomach to all distributed.
Yeah, true.
So for others, whatever you're doing for others, it actually you're doing for yourself.
Yep, very, very good point. Yes. Yeah. Because the joy that you get, it is for yourself only. Yeah.
So I'm telling you all, to share everything, whatever you have with others. It will be a lot of load off your mind.
Load in every possible way. Make us light. Yeah. Okay, so I would, unless somebody has anything burning, but we can always take it up in the last half an hour because I want to go to Kathopanishad. The Kathopanishad needs a little time. So I'm going to close Bhagavad Gita here. And if you have a question, ask at the last part. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarva papebhyah moksha ishyami ma shuchah. Hari Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari Om.